The past 3 weeks have gone by in what I can only describe as a flurry of stress, love, anxiety, and gratitude. A dear friend of mine and her 16-month-old have moved into our spare room as a temporary solution to a difficult situation. Our cat was attacked in the middle of the night and needed emergency care. Our front tire had developed a bulge, which I didn't know was a thing, that you couldn't drive on. And when I went to have the tire fixed, a snowball of unfortunate events occurred, resulting in having to park our vehicle for a week. The vehicle I needed to make the 10-plus hour drive here. But this past Wednesday, as I broke down and said that I couldn't come because I couldn't speak, and my daughter was sick, everything fell into place. So, speaking of my daughter, here we go. When I first learned that I was pregnant, my entire world opened up. I had tapped into a kind of instinctual pit of motherly love that originated far deeper inside myself than I could have ever imagined. From the first time I thought of my baby's face to the first kick, from the first seconds of her life, I felt this awe-inspiring movement of love bubbling up. It was deep and it was raw. It was the kind of love that I had never felt before, and yet, however, there was a profound and frightening edge to my love. A dark side that reared its head in the early weeks after her birth. That joy that I had, it began slipping through my fingers as fear and anxiety crept into its place. I obsessively checked to see if Charlotte was breathing. I Googled everything, which my husband had to just tell me to stop testing Google. This was different, I would tell him, because he kept repeating, "You've taken care of kids your entire life, you know what you're doing." I didn't feel like I knew what I was doing. The pressure to get it just right has this weight that never seemed to lift. It was so different, and from a young age, being a mother was the most important job I would ever do. I was told that it would be my greatest accomplishment, my purpose. No job, no talent, no hobby would ever be as important as being a mother. And in my mind, I was failing. I often felt like I was drowning. I spent many nights awake trying to force myself to sleep when the baby slept, and I woke at every sound. I'd walk into the kitchen and burst into tears because I hadn't done the dishes. My husband took 2 months off in the beginning, something I am so grateful for. I doubt that I would be here if it wasn't for his love and tender devotion. The night he went back to his graveyard shift was the longest night of my life. But I stopped moving, and I love to move. The more I didn't move, the worse it became. I lost myself, and I have always loved dancing. The list of messages and questions I received as a new parent from well-meaning friends and family was pretty long. Things like, "Are you breastfeeding? You know, breast is best." "Motherhood is the most important time of your life. You are so blessed. Enjoy this time now because it goes by so fast." "Is she reaching her milestones? You know, her cousin was walking at this stage." My all-time favorite, when are you having another baby? For a new mother, it can be overwhelming. This can often lead to selling out, or in other words, doing a lot of things that we really don't want to do. I found myself doing those things out of guilt or pressure, and I wanted the best for my baby. And I didn't realize I could do things differently, be happy, and still be the best mother to my child. I began having visions. I call them scary thoughts. In the postpartum depression community, they're called scary thoughts. So in particular, one thought became persistent. I was driving home, up Bushy Lake Hill, my little one all buckled up in the back, and I would just drive off the road, down and down. Every time I drove that road, I could just drive right off the road. I hated every second of this vision because I didn't want this to happen. I was terrified to drive, terrified I would lose control. It became debilitating, and if I was to go anywhere, my husband had to drive. There were a few attempts that I had to, in those early months, to get help. Well-meaning doctors who simply had me fill out a questionnaire and proceeded to prescribe medication. It didn't work for me. I would constantly forget to take my medication. I hated the way it made me feel numb to all my emotions, the sadness and the joy. I hated how it didn't help me, but it could help so many others. There are only 1 or 2 antidepressants that mothers can take when they're breastfeeding, so I felt like I was being punished because I had chose to breastfeed. And the you just started. Family and friends would say, you just need to clean. You'll feel so much better. You just need to start exercising. You just need to sleep more. Yeah. You just. I just stopped asking for help. So my best friend had a son 6 weeks after I had Charlotte. And it was something we'd always talked about. Being able to raise our children together so they could be friends and we could all hang out, and it was just this beautiful picture. It was our plan, and it was truly coming to fruition. I was excited to be part of the Mothers Club, as many of my friends had had children before me. It felt like I was an outsider when they spoke about the troubles and triumphs of raising tiny humans. What I didn't realize is that there is an underlying competitiveness between many mothers. At least this is my experience. Social media definitely doesn't help. There was a constant subconscious need to compare. I began to feel inadequate. I felt guilty for wanting help, for my messy house, for my scary thoughts, on and on and on. And I wanted to have a tribe, a group I could rely on to share our common experiences and to build a village. You know that whole it takes a village thing? My thoughts stopped me from opening up to the mothers I knew. The feeling of inadequacy sank in. I feel guilty for wanting help because a lot of moms I know are handling themselves. Every mom in my mom group seems so happy. Why am I not? There came a time before I started back at work last June where I began to ask myself what I wanted and what I deserved. I began to realize that I needed to love myself no matter what. It was hard to shake that feeling of inadequacy, but the more confidence I mustered up in myself and my decisions as a mother, the more I realized that there are more moms just like me. All around, I began to wonder how common my feelings were. I had heard about postpartum depression, but I had never realized that postpartum anxiety is a thing. The more I Googled, and yes, this Googling was allowed, I began to understand just how common my thoughts and feelings are. 1 out of every 7 women who gives birth experiences symptoms of a clinical depression that requires treatment. 1 out of every 7. I discovered that some of my thoughts and feelings I had running through my body, my best friend was also experiencing. My heart shattered. In the back of my mind, I had thought that I somehow deserved to feel this way. I looked at my best friend with her beautiful children, her kind heart, and I realized that I should have never hid how I was feeling. I would never wish this on anyone, and my friend, who I love like a sister, was suffering in silence, just as I was. That guilt, that shame that kept me from experiencing the first year of my daughter's life. Yeah, she's 2 now, and I can barely remember the first year. But this last year, oh. I now wake up to the grumpiest toddler known to man. I get a good, no, stop. And whenever there is music playing, she has to immediately stop and drop whatever she is doing and dance. I feel like she gets that from her father. I have finally found my tribe. I went back to work when Charlotte was 10 months old, and I was nervous but happy that I was able to bring her to work with me since I worked in a daycare. And I had always loved the people I worked with, but the love and appreciation I have for them now is much deeper than ever before. They've supported me in helping raise my daughter with me. I look at Charlotte and I'm able to hold on to that joy. I let those truly scary thoughts flow through and acknowledge them because they no longer hold power. I want to be the best me that I can be so that when Charlotte grows up, she can look back on her life knowing that her mother found joy in the face of fear.